I want to welcome everybody to Washington, D.C. We're here at the American Association for Cancer Research. It's great to have the team here from WIN. Now, WIN is Worldwide Innovative Networking. That's what it seems to stand for. We've got here Richard Buller, you're from Pfizer, company represented here. John Mendelsohn, also you're the chairperson of WIN, and you now have a very a personal stake in personalising medicine. We'll get you to tell us all about that. And also Richard Schilsky, you've got a brand new post at ASCO, so a really high-powered team here. But what I want to know is, what is WIN? And John, you're the boss of WIN. Could you intro this concept about networking and innovative and personalised medicine? What are you trying to do with WIN?
Well, WIN grew out of a group of people that met in Paris over a period of years that involved academic researchers, clinical investigators, companies, pharmaceutical companies, instrument companies that make the sequencing equipment, companies that do the informatics, patient advocacy groups, and regulatory groups. Many stakeholders in the idea that we're going to change cancer therapy by understanding the genetic and eventually the proteomic makeup of each individual patient's cancer and assign therapy based on what's wrong with that cancer.
Right, so there is some confidence that looking at the genomics, looking at the whole pattern of DNA could help. How confident are you that you're right?
We're confident we're right, but we, we still have to learn how to do it efficiently and effectively. And initially, it was a series of symposia every year when we got together and compared data, very oriented toward practical application, not just discovering new genes, but rather once the genes are discovered, how do we take that to the patient efficiently and effectively? That was the goal. And then we moved to the point where we decided to design clinical trials. And another advantage of WIN is the groups that are carrying out the clinical trials from the academic centers represent 4 different continents, nearly 20 cancer centers. So there's a very diverse population of patients and a diverse level of experience in designing trials. So we've gathered together and have launched a few trials to test this. Now, we're not unique. These types of trials, excuse me, are going on in many locations, but we offer a diverse perspective and a level of expertise that's I think, quite useful.
And you personally are now the boss of a new institute at the MD Anderson to make all of this happen. And
well, you keep using the word boss. I am the chairman of WIN, and I work with a wonderful, diverse group. And at MD Anderson, after 15 years as the president, I stepped down and have moved to running an institute whose goal is to do this at our institution.
Now, Richard Buller, you are in industry. You've got drugs in the pipeline, exciting ones, and you definitely are confident that this is the right way to go, looking at the genes and looking at the pathways and the mechanisms, and that we can make real progress. What's the basis of your confidence?
Well, I've been passionate about trying to get the right drug for the right patient for a lot of years. I come from academia. I spent a stint in translational oncology at 2 different companies, and the recent successes of crizotinib, for example, in non-small cell lung cancer, where there's a very specific driver mutation, ALK translocations, Zelboraf and BRAF positive melanoma, really sets a standard for the way in which drugs need to be developed going forward. But as we get more towards individualizing patient care and getting individual tumor information, the number of patients that are potentially going to be benefited from a particular drug is going to get smaller. And so Pfizer is interested in participating in the WIN Consortium and a trial they're going to be doing called WINTHER, because it's starting to put together networks and ways of approaching that concept of small patient populations that's very difficult for a single pharma company to do.
Right, so it's imaginative thinking that the Paul Ehrlich magic bullet idea could actually work, and there could be switches to turn off cancers. How big an effect do you think this might be over and above the sort of bucket chemistry that we've had in the past of chemotherapy, which does work?
Well, some of the comparisons have been made going back to the two examples I just gave, melanoma and non-small cell lung cancer, where disease outcomes have been pretty dismal with conventional chemotherapy over the years. And there's been a significant, way more than incremental improvement in patient outcomes with these targeted therapies.
And from an industry point of view, can you still make money if you're individualizing it to that extent, tailoring the drug to quite small groups of patients?
Well, part of what we hope to get out of WIN and others as well is how we change the development paradigm, how you change the economics of drug development is going to be influenced by these kinds of trials as well. Obviously, companies are in business to be able to fund what they're doing and to make a profit, but you can't do that on your own. And WIN and the fact that folks from broad and diverse groups all playing roles in drug development are working together, I think will provide the kinds of synergies that will help move the development process along.
Mm. And Richard Schilsky, from your perspective over at ASCO, what do you think about the whole idea of innovating and cooperating on a global scale to make these things happen? Are you confident that all of these goals could be met?
Well, I think it's going to be challenging, but I think it's absolutely necessary. Cancer is a global disease. Most of the new cancer cases in the world are going to be occurring outside of North America in the next 20 to 50 years. So there's an urgent need to bring the best possible therapies to cancer patients wherever they live. The other interesting element of all this is that the concept of personalized medicine is not necessarily sort of uniform, in the sense that we already know that certain genetic mutations occur with different frequencies in different populations in different parts of the world. So the best example right now is the frequency of EGFR mutation being far more common in Asian patients with non-small cell lung cancer than in North American patients with non-small cell lung cancer. And this is one of the great virtues of WIN, as it really comes together now, because we're going to have patient populations from all around the world. And as we need to identify small populations of patients that have specific driver mutations, we may find them differentially in different parts of the globe.
Now, there's lots of information available all over the world, but actually finding the needle in a haystack or going to the right expert for the right information is difficult. You are now very much an organizer in the work you're doing with ASCO. Are you confident this can happen and that the different experts can cooperate?
I think there's, what I'm seeing is that, everyone recognizes the need for this collaboration, because it is so complicated to do this well. You need the collaboration of the people who obtain the biopsy specimens from the patients. So that includes interventional radiologists and surgeons and other kinds of specialists, particularly pathologists, who are critical in obtaining the right amount of tissue in the right way and ensuring it gets to the right analytical laboratory. You need great molecular pathologists and laboratory scientists to do the right analyses. You need terrific bioinformaticians to put all the data together in a way that anyone can make sense of it. And then you need great clinicians who can interpret the findings in the appropriate clinical context to make the right treatment recommendations. So you have to have an enormous team of people, oftentimes drawn from many different institutions, because no one institution necessarily has all the resources necessary to put a team like this together to deliver on personalized care.